Welcome to one of the most beautiful parts on planet Earth. 5 billion years ago, God created the planet, and then in the 1960s, man invented mountain biking. We brought them together 5 years ago for the first time for the Sellaronda HERO, and we're about to do it all again in this absolutely glorious setting. Welcome to Selva di Val Gardena here in Italy for the HERO. Absolutely stunning part of the world, as we've said, and one of the few events, I guess, in the calendar where the participants outnumber spectators by an enormous margin. 4,014 contestants will take on the massive tour around the Sellaronda, and in their own way, of course, every finisher will be a hero. It's a stunning event. It is one that's, well, worked its way into the consciousness, I think you might say, of the great and the good. And indeed, this morning's start was absolutely outstanding. This is what we are dealing with. Well, a more beautiful part of planet Earth you'll be hard pushed to find. It's absolutely glorious. Stunning weather as well today as we set off up the mountains. Several time checks along the way. The high point, well, many thousands of meters above sea level. In fact, we're topping out, heading for the 3,000 meter mark. This course never designed to be easy, and you'll find it very difficult to find a tougher challenge in the world of mountain biking. Over the years, names of the peaks have passed into folklore, and you're going to find them right here today. Here's your finish line. The Sellaronda HERO is underway. They rolled off this morning in waves of mass starters. It is, of course, 4,014 competitors that are taking part today. Wearing number 1 for the men, Leonardo Paes, twice a winner. Don't forget, you can join the fun as well, logging on to Instagram and finding, indeed, our portal at sellaronda.com. And in so doing, you'll be able to vote for the best pictures that have been on display today. Great atmosphere at the finish line. This is where they started earlier on today as well. And in fact, as we had all of our contestants lined up, so it was that Barbara and co went and interviewed those who are taking part today. It's an amazing event that has drawn the very best from the UCI World Mountains. Well, the women's wave went off first today. They having a slightly amended course. The drum beats were, of course, knocking it out today. 62 kilometers is what they would be dealing with. And in fact, a whole top section, I guess you might say, of the world's greats were here.
Catherine, you won it twice at the HERO, so you know really well the track. So what about today? How you have prepared this race?
I prepare very good, but the ladies are very good today. But I do my best, and I hope I go to the podium. But I know it's very, very hard. They are professional. I'm a half professional, but I give my best.
Verena, what about this year? Are you afraid for somebody in particular? And is there a little piece of a track more dangerous for you?
Yeah, I think the riders, the Italian riders, are very strong today, I think. And I have, the course is very nice. I love this race. It's my, it's the it's the most I love in the year, and I hope it's very good for me today.
Lorenza, so many good, important riders coming from all over the world, but also our color, the Italian flag with you. Lorenza, what about this year? You've been here once in the past, so what about this edition?
I think that is so cool to find a lot of women. A lot of Italian women is important for the Italian mountain bike to improve, and is the wonderful race in the world, I think. I hope to have fun.
Well, having fun is what this sport is all about. It's grown, of course, in importance and indeed stature over the years. And we've got the very best here. Borghild Lovset is here, Norwegian champion, wearing that flag with impunity. Lorenzo Menapace also here today, trying to do it for Italy. 42 years of age now, one of the veterans along the way. There is some youth here. Elena Godoni possibly not counted as part of that, but a little bit of nerves on display, as you can see at the start. And Kreslena, also part of the front row of starters today, with Sandra Klomp likewise. 50 years of age now, Sandra, been an amazing ambassador for the sport. Well, the cannon fire, perhaps not the loudest bang that they're going to have out there. Let's just hope that everyone stays safe, as we said farewell to them at the start today. So they rolled out in the shadow cast by the mighty mountains as they head round the Sella. It's the Sellaronda HERO underway with the women. Slightly shorter course, don't forget, but also amended today, ever so slightly, I think you might say, to the good. They were climbing straight from the very start up to the first checkpoint today at Cepiez. 62 kilometers for them, and 7:10 in the morning the start time today as they rolled out in glorious sunshine. As you can see, altitude changes of over 3,000 meters, and this is where they headed out of town immediately with an ultimate test, plenty of switchbacks as well, heading into the woodland area. Through the first checkpoint, it was that they came with Krenselena ahead of Dodoni and Lovaset at that point. Then a downhill run along the Vale, as you can see, before the course ultimately split away from that contested by the men. An extra loop for the women to, if you like, extend the first part of their run to the second checkpoint at Passo Capolongo. And once they'd finished with this particular ridge, just cresting out at over 2,000 meters, as you can see, a long run through the woodland with temperature changes and indeed some track changes as well as they headed down to Araba. This is one of the changed parts of the course. The local community worked extraordinarily hard. They rolled through Araba and then up onto an elevated section cut into the woodland so that they could avoid the roads, and then back onto the route with the switchbacks, as you can see, before cresting that 40-kilometer run along the side of the valley, high at altitude still, before we got to the Podoi, 2,239 meters above sea level. Once they come through the 45-kilometer mark, then it's a downhill run once again through the woodland, tight and twisty, extraordinarily technical. They're going to have to watch their bike handling skills, and then a faster open section, if you like, from 50 Ks, and they're climbing once more past that amazing group, the Sassolungo, as you can see. Spectacular limestone outcrop thrown up over millennia, and then they were throwing themselves down towards town. This, the last run that they will be facing today. We'll be heading live over to them in a few moments' time. And this is the cut through the woodland, and finally the respite after 62 kilometers of racing for the women, coming into town. And celebrations, of course. Thumbs up from, here we are, thumbs up from the kids. They had their own little races today, absolutely terrific. They were out and about doing their own little short circuits. A party atmosphere, I think you might find in town. Managing Director Jenny is with me of this amazing race. We're just waiting for us to pick up pictures from out into the countryside. we've already had a terrific run at the beginning of the day. In fact, we'll cross over to Jenny in just a few moments' time. The men rolled out this morning, Jenny, and spectacular weather we've been blessed with, thank goodness.
Yes, we are very happy about the weather. It's sunny, it's warm, and we hope that it remains so for all the day.
Yes, I think so. Temperature's going to be nudging up around about 19 Celsius. As you can see, some of the big favourites were out on, and indeed on display. And in fact, Barbara was down at the start line just to have a chat with the first wave. Some nervous faces, I think, today. It's a massive task that they are dealing with.
Yes, because the route is very difficult, and of course,
what about your expectations?
Are quite nervous,
yeah,
but they are
I expect a really hard race with a lot of steep and long climbs. I think it will be a really hard day in the saddle.
Tony, you set the pace for most of last year race. How did you prepare this year race?
Last week I did an stage races in Austria, and now my legs.
Well, there we are. Just a brief look at some of the favourites. I'm afraid we had a bit of an issue there technically at the start today. However, the run and the rollout for the men. No doubt about those who are forefront of our thoughts. Leonardo Paes, twice a winner, don't forget, defending champion and going for 3 in a row. So looking for the hat-trick. Stefan Tum, he's the leader of the World Series. And Jenny, he's looking for just 20 points. And if he gets them by finishing 5th today, he'll be crowned.
Yeah, we are waiting for the winner, and we are happy that we have the last race of the World Series.
It is the final race of the World Series, and of course it will be the World Championship next year as well. It's amazing that this venue has established itself, I think, in only 5 short editions, this being the 5th, very much in the forefront of competitors' minds. You can see from the spectacular scenery here why this is such an important race. It's become an instant classic.
Yeah, it's the 5th edition, but we hope that we have a lot of editions, and we started 5 years ago with just 500 of participants, and we grow up very fast, and now we are happy to be a classic race for the participants, and we are waiting for the World Championship for the next year.
Well, Italy have a habit of taking hold of races, creating something great. In terms of road racing, the Strada Bianchi is now established as a classic, and I think this, the Hero, has now, within the world of mountain biking, is also in the minds of the competitors one of the big titles they want to win.
Yes, and we are very proud of this, and we have the slogan that's one of the toughest race of the world, and maybe this is in the mind of the elite and the participants, that they want to win it.
I think you're absolutely right, and if you look at the start list, they've come from far and wide. Mexico, Canada, South Africa represented here. It draws in a vast amount of attention from throughout the community, of which the mountain biking community has only existed since the mid-1960s. And now we find ourselves here with a truly global sport, and this is a global event.
Yeah, mountain bike is not so famous, but it becomes more and more famous, and so we saw that persons are now very interested in mountain biking, and maybe for this reason we grow up so fast.
Yes, I think so. You can see as well some growing to be done by some of the competitors in the junior competition today. It was terrific to see actually just so many children represented. I think there was about 200, in fact, start. started off today, and they taking a little circular course around town. And indeed, oh, here we are, hero of the men.
Of course, you are second in the UCI World Series 2014, but this is your first time here at the Hero, so what about your expectations?
Yeah, I expect a really hard race with a lot of steep and long climbs. I think it will be a really hard day in the saddle.
Tony, you set the pace for most of last year's race. How did you prepare this year's race?
Last week I did a stage races in Austria, and now my legs seems good, so today I hope for a podium. Last year 4th place for me, and today I want to improve my last year place.
And we are now with Leonardo Paes. He is leading the group of favorites. He won twice the Südtirol Sellaronda HERO. He will try to win also for a 3rd time.
Un saluto a tutti e grazie alla mia squadra. Sono contento di essere ancora qua, pronti per il via. Speriamo che anche oggi fare una bella gara, e non è facile vincere, ma oggi provo. Per fortuna che ha vinto 2 volte, e sarebbe molto bello riuscire a vincere la 3ª volta, ma dai, tutti sono qua forti, tutti vogliono vincere.
I'm really happy to be here. I will try to win also this year with my teammates and my teammates. So really happy to be here. It will be a difficult day, a lot of good riders, but I will try to win once again.
There we are, some of the favourites at the start line today. As you can see, they are widely represented. Coming in from Canada, Corey Wallace was over at the front line. Tony Longo, of course, the Italian, well, one of the favourites, I think, starting off at the beginning. Stefan Tum, likewise, giving the thumbs up. Stefan, leader of the World Series, needs 20 points. He'll have to finish 5th today. And Leonardo as well. At the beginning, you saw Leonardo Paes, twice a winner here, going for the hat-trick. Well, they rolled out in the shadows cast by the mighty mountain that graces this area around Val Gardena, made up of the 3 villages. Of course, we're in Selva at the roll-off, and indeed it will be our finish line. And you can see that from the pace, and indeed those out of the saddle very early on, it was a tough start. It's a rude awakening, I think. No gentle run-in on this particular course, and climbing almost immediately. It is the Sellaronda HERO, and for the men, 84 kilometers of climbing. Similar course to the women at the start, at least, and in fact sharing the same route to the first time check. As they went through the Detta Champies, heading down through the valleys, as you can see, cutting through the woodland, and indeed then the departure from the women's course. A longer one for the men, 84 kilometers in total, and as soon as they started climbing today to the Detta Champies, it was a downhill section to Covara, and then a rise once more, peaking out today at Sorosas. As soon as they got there, 2,351 meters above sea level. In fact, heading there at this point, cutting alongside the valley into the woodland on a slightly elevated section. That's a newer part of this course that they are dealing with. And the rise, an absolutely incredible one, through the woodland, and then getting exposed, some hairpins along the way before a brutal climb to the top at Sorosas. As soon as they reach there, it's a downhill section to the Pordoi, just an intermediate ramp, if you like, for a 3rd time check. In fact, they've just come through the Pordoi. I'll give you an update on that in just a few moments' time. They started off nice and tight today. We'll have some updates from the course in just a few moments' time, but this is what they will still have to deal with. And that run through the woodland, down, big temperature changes here, especially as they get into some of the shadowed section. Some areas as well, just holding on to a little bit of moisture. Not that there's been plenty of rain, but they've had so much snow this winter, the land has kind of held on to it. And this is the run into town at the very end. They'll cut alongside the hillside, the Campitello at 1,500 meters, almost there. And then they have this long wooded climb, 60 kilometers in total at that point. 84, don't forget, before they get to the line. open, exposed areas. We're hoping that the wind doesn't pick up and we get some of that vectoring that occasionally happens in the afternoon here. Local time at the moment, just after 11 a.m. But by the time they're reaching this part of the course, it's going to be well after lunchtime. 84 kilometers in total, and this, the last part of it. They reach a plateau through the wooded section again here, plenty of that in this part of the world. And then this last run, hugging the mountainside. And in fact, it may well be we have a sprint duel at the very end. So close are the men ranked in this competition. Spectacular view then of the Dolomites, and this, the Sellaronda HERO, just waiting to pick up some live action for you. You can see the mountain melt still providing a whole runoff of fresh water into this part of the world. We're waiting to hook up with live pictures from out on the course. I have the managing director of the Sellaronda sitting next to me. Jenny, it's been a mighty task to get this all organised. I think you deserve yourself a medal, frankly. It's quite a job you have.
Yes, I work for this event all the year, and I'm very happy to.
Welcome, you're in Neves Square. It is the 5th running of the Sellaronda HERO. And as you can see, the crowd in kind of expectant mode. And here we are, we join the action live from the helicopter, and it has been an extraordinarily busy day. Let's get you up to speed, shall we? As far as the women are concerned, I can tell you that Kranzlauna was leading at the first checkpoint, which came very quickly. The second one at Campo Longo saw a change in the leaderboard, and in fact Brandau had made an extraordinary leap. She was down in 3 minutes and 43 down, and after the 2-hour mark she led through the second checkpoint at 29 kilometers. Yes, that's right, it took them 2 hours to finish 29 Ks, courtesy of the fact that the terrain here is absolutely punishing, and even on an open section which looks reasonably benign, as you can see, it's rock and roll out there, I'm afraid. Brandau leading at the second checkpoint then, ahead of Lovzet, and Klenslaner was 12 seconds down. So they were as a trio at that point, only to break up a little bit later as they headed towards the Pardoi. In fact, the women have come through, and Brandau now has a 1 minute and 38 second lead. And we have as well somebody else who's joining the party. Down in 6th place at the second checkpoint, in fact, off the radar entirely at the first, was Zlokovska. And Zlokovska has managed to claw her way back up into 3rd place, which is a remarkable run for her. She started off today as the highest ranked in the world rankings, the lady from Poland, and she finds herself now pacing herself absolutely beautifully on this run. It's a real grind, as you can see. The great screen, which is down in the central marketplace here in town, is providing everybody back home with an idea, and indeed in the central market square here, of exactly where everyone are on the mountain. I can tell you right now that after over 3 hours of riding, 3 hours and 17 was Brandau's checkpoint through there, that they are cast all over the mountain. Nearest rider to Brandau is Lovset at 1 minute and 38 seconds down at the Pardoi, and then Zlokovska, who is playing catch-up at the moment, 2 minutes and 37. The way that Zlokovska is riding, though, I wouldn't be surprised if that gap closes down, particularly on some of the downhill sections where she is known to be extraordinarily effective. There it is, bright sunshine at the finish line, as you can see. Some data linkage issues, I'm afraid, from the helicopter to bring us the action. But as they come further and closer, indeed, to our finish line, then that relay will re-establish itself and we'll have those pictures for you. There we are, out on course. Nobody said this was supposed to be easy, Jenny, and it certainly looks extraordinarily difficult today.
Yes, it looks very difficult, and here we see the first lady that I think she is quite tired, but she is going well.
I think the point is at moments such as this, where you're so deep into the course, but in fact you're approaching the halfway mark, or just beyond that, just after the 40 kilometers of the 60, so 2/3 complete. You have to set yourself a rhythm, and you have to basically stick to it. Whenever you get to any incline, there is one rhythm, and it is your coping rhythm. You must not exceed it. You just have to go at your own pace.
Yes, I hope she is able to don't to think about don't to think about that she is exhausted, but that she go on.
Well, this is where you have the lactic acid now just easing in the legs. They get a crest. We're just picking up with Brandau, and indeed sharing the course with the men at this point. There was a couple of loops where the two courses actually separated themselves. Right now, as you can see, Brandau is our leader and still managing to hold a gap further back to Lovset and Zlotowska. Gröden is in 4th place, incidentally, and was much higher than that. In fact, at the Dante Cepies, she was sitting in 2nd place, only a minute down, and has faded consistently throughout, if you can fade in a consistent nature, I guess. Apologies for that. No disrespect intended at all, but Brandau, as you can see, setting an absolutely wonderful pace as she marks time through this difficult section. She started off, as we said today, numbered up as number 32, but right now she is number 1 on the course. As we pull back, you'll see the amazing limestone outcrops. Limestone, of course, set down millions of years ago, millennia ago, as small sea creatures. And in fact, that strata later on, being amongst the hardest of the rocks, stays prominent as others, courtesy of the wind, ice movements, and indeed water, just washed away, leaving us with these spectacular views, as you can see. Well, the men have gone through the Pardoi as well. Give you an update on how they are going. And it is Ragnoli that holds the lead out front. He and Paez trading blows at the moment. Ragnoli, number 119, doing an absolutely superb job. It is Paez, though, given number 1 today, despite the fact that the men all start at in the hundreds, but in honor of the fact that he has won twice here and indeed will go for the hat-trick, then it was just felt that Paez deserved to wear that number 1, and so quite rightly, by rights, he did exactly that. Working hard, the frame formation familiar to many of you mountain bikers, maybe those of you who are of the road racing persuasion, just thinking it looks a little unusual. It allows a more compact frame, and that's what Brandau is using beautifully at the moment. And charging up here, setting a nice rhythm, high cadence that she's engaged with right now, as Elizabeth Brandau continues to ply her way through this little cutting that we have for you here today. Let's just go back and dwell on the men, shall we, for a few moments as we wait for pictures to be established with them. Menzi, Huber, Ragnoli, Paez and Paul Huber, it was with your top 5 right at the beginning at the first checkpoint after just 7 kilometers. And I think Menzi was perhaps the man who suffered most, put too much into it, and in fact has been tumbling from that leading position from that point onwards. In fact, Menzi was down into 3rd place, but was already down by about 30 seconds by the time we reached the 25 kilometer mark. As we went through the Pordoi, Menzi just easing off, I'm afraid, and now 5 minutes in arrears by the time that we got to the Pordoi. Ragnoli and Paez establishing themselves as the 2 main contenders for victory today. And in fact, they are riding almost together on course. And I'm sure we'll be picking those up for you in just a few moments' time. As you can see, 4 hours in the saddle right now, and we are heading for our, I think it's fair to say, the kill zone as far as the men are concerned. It's the area that leads up to the Paso Duron, and that is where our next time check for the men will take place. And it's the big attack zone around about the 60-kilometer mark, where they are climbing through the woodland, and it's almost hidden from our cameras, which is why we are dwelling at the moment with Brandau, who's doing an amazing job out there, as you can see. Well, just getting a little bit of respite. Some of the terrain here, it climbs often more gently at other sections than others, and as you can see, she's in this sort of recovery area right now, and soon she'll have a downhill section to deal with. I hope we can stay with it, because some of the downhill runs here, they are clean, and in fact the local workforce, if you like, have worked extraordinarily hard to make sure that everything is safe and as it should be. In fact, some of the newer sections that form part of this 5th running of the Sellaronda HERO have just been elevated ever so slightly, and so cut into the woodland, which is dangerous but also spectacular, of course, for these riders. And there we are. You can see she's not driving through some of the course here, but just allowing her legs to recover. And why not, indeed? She's done most of the hard work right now. She just needs to shake out some of the lactic acid that's built up in those legs on the climbs. And there we are. Zolkowska, a minute 28 down. Loveset, 3 minutes and 16 in arrears. And Gröden, almost 5 minutes down from the FRM factory racing team. The Orkla CK machine underneath Loveset, also functioning very well at the moment. Well, mountain bike technology has come on an awful long way, as I'm sure you all know. And the frame's just becoming lighter, more compact, and certainly stronger. Great longevity, and that's what you need on an event such as this. It's a long run, 62 kilometers, especially when you're dealing with this kind of terrain. And we've got a big transition point coming through right now. The paths are clean and clear, and as you can see, just losing the back end, in fact, just decleating momentarily. So we're on the downhill run right now, as you can see, just over 4 hours in the saddle, and we are staying with Brandau as we wait for us to hook up pictures with the men's race right now. It's one of the little woodland sections, almost looks like cypress trees, doesn't it? These are indeed fir trees high up the order. Sparsely spaced, I think, which allows us to keep an eye on this lovely run through. You are live at the Sellaronda right now as they head through this beautiful part of the world. The Pardoi has been dealt with, and she's just heading down now to the Passa Sella Josh. That is Brandl, our leader of the ladies' race. I can tell you, Ragnoli and Paes have gone through the 3rd checkpoint for the men after 3 hours in the saddle. Tony Longo is the nearest man to the 2 main contenders at the moment. He's a minute and 48 adrift. Close at hand, in fact, riding with him is Urs Huber, who said he came here with great ambitions and in turn intends to build himself a whole rack of points. He's second in the World Series, of course, at the moment is Huber, the Swiss, and he's running very well here. It could be a phenomenal result for him. There's your finish line. You see that cut into the mountain just to the round the edge where the woodland is. That's the final cut and the run to the line. You can just see it 100 meters or so behind that picture. Well, we have a dearth of pictures at the moment from out on course, I'm afraid to tell you, which is why we are dwelling on pictures at the finish line. But do bear with us. And as soon as we manage to patch it all together, then of course we will be back with you and rolling here at this amazing event, the Sellaronda HERO Mountain Bike Marathon. It's part indeed of the UCI Mountain Bike Marathon series, and the world ranking that we have. We've drawn many a rider along with us. Stefan Tum it is that leads the series at the moment. He needs 20 points, so a 5th place finish will be enough for him to secure the world title. All the credit and indeed the plaudits that come with that. In fact, we're hoping to get a few guests in a little bit later on. Hubert Palhuber, former world champion, expected to join us in a short while. We'll have him fairly shortly. Meanwhile, we stay with the pictures that we do have at the moment, which is Brandao as she heads off what looks like being a solo victory at the moment. In fact, it was 1 minute and 28 that she had an advantage over Zlatkowska out there. But Zlatkowska right now is clearly well distanced, I'm afraid. And this lady, Brandao, is enjoying life. Just using her elbows, as you can see, as foreshocks essentially. It's very, very tough on the wrists and elbows if you're not actually in the right body form, but she's adept at doing exactly the right thing right now. As you can see, she'll just sail around this course and head through one of the gaps in the woodland. A lot of skiing goes on in this part of the world, not only cross-country, but of course alpine skiing as well. You're familiar with Val Gardena as part of the World Cup, and that is the mountain range that we are riding around, the Sella. Amazing. And there is this spectacular scenery and the trace of the course leading back down to the finish line. Well, awaiting our winners. Will be some time. We have some junior intermediate races as well. I don't think they'll be holding that banner for too long. But there you are. The Passo Sella is, in fact, is where Brandao has been through. So they are ahead of the game, the ladies. They've been through the Sella and indeed will be heading through the final cuts. And in fact, Brandao is not that far away from the finish line, which is why the banners are being held. I thought it was going to be at least 20 minutes, but she's ahead of us on the course and indeed is now heading for victory. She's going to take one of these curves. No wonder she's just biding her time. She's essentially riding safe at the moment because she has such an advantage. 1.5 minutes over Zlatkowska. Loveset 3 minutes and 16 down. Gröden nearly 5 minutes adrift. Veronese, one of the veterans, down in, goodness me, 7 minutes and 9 down, but still very creditable. And this is that final pitched run, wide open at the moment. And Brandao here is heading for what is going to be an absolutely stunning victory for her. She started off, as we said, at the first checkpoint and was really not to be headed once she'd actually taken the lead at the Campolongo. And here she is right now running into town. Well, what must be going through her mind? A stunning performance by her as she just tags on to some of the club riders who are out here as well. And in fact, they're just dismounting to allow her to come through as part of the competition. There we are. And she rolls through and into the darkened section. So we'll lose sight of her just for a few moments' time as she's in the woodland. It can be a difficult task, incidentally, going into this darker section, especially as there's a lot of moisture still hanging around. They were, in fact, clearing snow only yesterday from part of the course, I've got to tell you. So it's a credit to the organisers and indeed the local communities that they've managed to pull this all together. Heading for the 4 hours and 15 mark, still unawares as to how long it's going to be before she actually makes it to the end of the course. But she's been through the Sella, the final checkpoint for the lady. She's made the cut in the course then, and the checkered flag awaits her. It'd be nice to get a wider picture. We will cut away, incidentally, as soon as she has finished and head off to the men with this helicopter before you know it. So we'll just do the honour of staying with the ladies right now, and Brandao is heading for glory. Cannot see, we've had a wider view as well a few moments ago, just to see if we can patch back and find out where Lukowska is, but nowhere within sight at the moment. And suddenly she refines the energy. And these walkers have not come that far out of town, so it's the final few cuts that she's going to start making before you know it. There's the big pan up, and some of the club riders who are out today. Don't forget, 4,014 riders began on the course today. And just looking at picking out some of the danger sections, I guess, as she runs in. This is downhill, but such is her advantage, I think, that she's going to carry this one to the line today. There she is. We pick her up right now, and they're getting very animated down at in the marketplace. They know that she's heading for victory. There's the banner. There's the final cut. She'll come around the corner, and the clock will start counting. 4 hours and 16 minutes she's been in the saddle. It was an early start for the ladies. They rolled off and were climbing almost immediately on the course, which was 62 kilometers in total. The Danta Cepies, and then that long downhill section to Corvara, then climbing gradually up to the second checkpoint. The Campo Longo, after the intermediate loop, was dominated, and that was the point where Brandau came to the fore. She was running at the first checkpoint, and good for her, not putting too much energy into the opening climb of the day. So that was good strategy, finding herself in 9th place, having started 32nd at the line. So very much part of the first wave, but just allowing herself to settle into her rhythm. And once she took the lead at the Brandau, she went through the Pardoi and indeed then the Sella as our ultimate leader. Her gap at the Sella, 1 minute and 28, but then she was climbing again, and it was everybody else that she just left in her wake. An amazing performance by her, and this is going to be one of the biggest margins of victory by the looks of things that we've had on this Sellaronda, and it's a credit to Brandau that she can bring this home. There it is. She's still on a climb at the moment, and she's being encouraged, as you can see. They know what she's done, and I guess she does too. Just beating out that rhythm on this little subsequent, little tiny climb as she fights to get up to the ridge, which will bring her home. Well, it's a beautifully well-marked course, and in fact, if you ever do manage to get yourself into the locale, come along and enjoy. It's spectacular. It's almost purpose-built for mountain biking, it seems. Of course, these alpine courses as well. Some great cross-country skiing to be had in this part of the world during the winter months. But when it hands itself over to mountain biking, it is a joy to see and indeed behold. And with this sort of performance, well, they're just calling her in at the finish line. I don't think they realize just how far she still has to go, I'm afraid. Elizabeth Brandau rolling it home. Well, the fatigue will be immense, but she'll forget all about that when she hits the line. Just passing by one of the multitude of chairlifts that grace the landscape in this part of the world. Still work carrying mountain bikes. Obviously less full as it is with skiers, but well, town expectant for now. Well, she's come through past the 60-kilometer mark. She has another couple of kilometers to be dealt with, as you can see. In fact, it's 55-kilometer mark, I beg your pardon. She's making a couple of the final turns along the way. And this must now feel like a glory run for her. I think we might just get the long shot back towards town. You can see the way they've cut in the course as well, just provided she's on a little road section now, a little bit of Strada Bianchi, I think you might say. Taking one of the last little turns en route to the line as she skirts the tree line, just waiting for her to pop out here. Well, you set a rhythm up the climbs, and indeed you do so as well. You have a coping speed even on the descents, don't forget. But it seems that Brandau has what it takes in just about all terrain. And this little loop into town, she's just starting it right now. 4 hours and 20. And everyone is waiting to catch sight of her. There's going to be a huge roar when she finally makes that last little pass around the edge of the hillside. And this must feel like a job already completed, but she must not count on that. You don't want to take any little spill at the end that could just upset everything. Just grinding out the last few little peaks, and here she's on the little tree line section. Built for walkers and skiers in equal measure. And there it is, the last run into town. She's on the tree line right now. She's out of vision as far as we're concerned, but her mind will be full of glory, and likewise to those who are about to welcome her. This has been an outstanding performance by Brandau. She started off amongst the leaders and then just took hold of this race at the 29-kilometre mark and was never to let it out of her grasp from that point onwards. We'll get to her as soon as we can for a rundown on exactly how she delivered today. But really, it has been a hammer blow that she threw down very early. Don't forget, it's a 62-kilometre course for the ladies today. And at the halfway mark, she was in control and never let it out of her grasp. Just waiting for her to re-emerge. Nervous moments for all of us here. But this is a phenomenal performance by Elisabeth Brandau. Doing it for Germany, and here she comes in a few moments. Everyone enjoying a nice late morning coffee and a cake, perhaps. Well, she's going to have more than that in a few moments as she comes into town. Creditable performance, more than that, magnificently impressive. And it's almost cruel that she's had to bounce back up here, just off the public road and back into the final run-in. She can hear the loudspeakers right now, and this will be spurring us on. And what a tough, nasty little climb that is, just to kick into the end. Here she is, just coming home then, into Sella. They're screaming her on. She can hear her name, and quite rightly. This race creates heroes, and I guess heroines in equal measure. One of the motocrossers who also enjoy their fun, one of the race officials here, just making sure that everything is safe. It's good to have a pre-runner for security. And we catch sight of our winner. Elisabeth Brandau comes into town, takes the last couple of curves, mouth agape. She knows what she's done, so do we. And we have found our first hero of the day. She tries to do a wheelie, but it's exhaustion as well as elation, I think. Fabulous, fabulous performance, and the clock now rolls on everybody else. Well, we've crowned our queen. We'll have our king later on today. And she allows herself a very well-deserved drink. 62 kilometers of hell, I think you might say, dispatched in beautiful fashion. She just catches her breath, and she'll be just heading over to Barbara for a few words. But what an amazing performance by Elisabeth Brandau. Germany take victory, and still the clock rolls on. At the finish line, Brandau holds her bike aloft. EB Racing Team and our winner. What a performance.
Sono pronta? So we are now with Elisabeth Brandau. Such a great race. Wow, what can you tell us about this race?
It's a very great area here, and I decided on Sunday after the other race maybe I should go there because a friend from me told me it's very great. And then I get a place, start place, and then in the morning I feel not so good, and after the first hill I said, oh, maybe hopefully I come in the finish. But then after the second climb it's getting better and better. But I think I win because I'm very fast in the descent, and the others are the same like me in the uphill, and I always catch the seconds in the downhill, and for this, and my a little bit throws is very good today. Yes.
You were not alone, such a lot of great important riders with you, but all of them are behind you.
Yeah, I don't know. I only raced my race. I looked at I'm not too fast at the beginning because in the morning I couldn't sleep very well. It was maybe the higher, I don't know, but it was amazing now, yeah. And the area and the descents and the trails is great. And perfect for next year for the World Champs.
We will wait for you next year.
Yes, I think next year I will go to the World Champ. This year I'm not in the best performance. I feel it in the uphill, and that's the long traveling to South Africa for next week. But I think next year then it's in Europe again, and I will come back here.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to the new winner, Elizabeth Brandau!
Elizabeth Brandau, realising what she's done. And in fact, our second place is just coming home now. Zilkowska making the last turns. Great effort by her as well. She was running in 7th place at the first checkpoint. In fact, bode her time, maybe just losing it out on the downhills, as you've already heard. Brandau making that count. Zilkowska comes in right now. She'll be talking to Barbara in a few moments' time. Looks fresh as a daisy after that long recovery run at the end, which is always useful, I should say, for us. Well, she'll take a few moments just to gather herself, but a great performance as well by the woman best placed in the World Series at the start of today. In fact, she's just rode away. We'll try and get a handle on her. Doing it for the cross racing team, the pole. And this is Borghild Lovset coming in for Norway. There's going to be a bit of that coming at the very end. Some nasty hairpins just to bring us to the line. Had high hopes, the Lovset, at the beginning, and the Norwegian makes the line right now with a gap of 3 minutes and 55. The winning margin, incidentally, for Brandau, 2 minutes and 58. Zilkowska is here, and indeed so is Lovset. 3 finishes so far, and I think she might actually be minded enough to have a chat with us. You can see that there has been a bit of moisture on course. There's quite a bit of spattering. Do you need a drink? Asked the organisers. Yes, just something. And just has to sign out and take her credit. But we have our podium. Brandau, Zilkowska and Lovset. It is terrific. Just approaching the 4.5-hour mark. There's going to be some broken hearts out there today, I can tell you that much. We'll be joining the men's action in just a few moments' time. The helicopter heading out to pick up the men's race. They've just come through the Duron, and Payas is leading Huber at the moment by a margin of 3 minutes and 12. He's put the hammer down late on. And I'm just hoping that Barbara can have a brief chat here with our third place podium winner, Borghild Lovset. Still gathering herself, it seems. Elena Godoni coming home. This is Zilkowska. Runner-up today to Elizabeth Brandau, who was totally dominant. Said she was looking forward to racing this as part of the World Championships next year. You're quite right too. Well, if you're only just joining us, welcome to the South Tyrol, the Sellaronda HERO. We're just about to hook up with the men's race. The women have finished. Brandau has delivered a stunning performance, and we're about to hook up with the men. This is a closer affair, certainly the battle for a podium place, and as you can see, they are wrestling with the peaks right now. They've just come through the Duron, the Passo Duron, which means that we have around 12 kilometers of racing to be completed by our leaders. Some big, wide curves in this open, almost pasture land, it seems. As if by magic, you see the beasts of the fields just stopping by to have a look. Thankfully, electric fencing keeping everybody safe today. There we are, Palomino horses. And indeed, some mountain beasts as well. the quads doing a great job of just alerting not only the wildlife but also the walkers and indeed the trail riders themselves that the event is taking place. And this, that long sort of lazy climb, if you like. What have they done today? Well, the Dantachepies was the first climb going through that section out there. It was Menzi that led them all. He's tried to stay in touch, but as you can see, Paes is the man who is heading for his third victory. He's won it twice before, 2012, and he's defending champion, let's not forget. And he's doing a stunning job out there for the TX Active Bianchi team. Huber, well, he's made some big leaps, as you can see. And in fact, Huber is now upsetting the party. Ragnoli had been very much part of proceedings, and it looks like that Huber has made the biggest leap forward. Now, it would be terrific if we end up with something of a sprint towards the line. It's 3 minutes separating them, and I don't think Paes is going to cede that kind of advantage. And there it is, Victor Leon Paes. And there is the mountain that he is dealing with at the moment. Round the Sellaronda, they have already been. The horses just coming along for a look. I think they may well be herded, being herded at the moment by the West Camp. 4 hours and 22 in the saddle. Finish time for the ladies, incidentally, 4 hours and 23. Shorter course for them, 62 kilometres. The men having 2 longer sections. Some of the male riders as well. Don't forget, there's been over 4,000 competitors today. It was very early sort out, you've got to say, with Menzi at the first checkpoint ahead of Huber. Ragnoli Paes always in the frame. He was in 4th place, 1 minute and 35 down at the first checkpoint. Didn't want to put too much into the opening run to that 7-kilometre mark. And then we went to Campolongo, 25 kilometres into the run at 1,875 metres above sea level. Paes had moved himself into contention at that point and was only 20 seconds down on Ragnoli, who'd taken off over the lead when Menzi just tumbled down the order ever so slightly into 3rd place, with Huber making a noise about himself. Huber then at that point was leading Paes. They came to the Pardoi. Ragnoli, Paes, Longo and Huber were the top 4. Huber just around about 3 minutes or so down, and in fact that gap has been held by Paes. So the attack went off the Pardoi, well, into the next section, the Soras, and then along the ridge to the Passo Duron. And the advantage has been driven ever deeper. I think the sword that he's put into everybody is there for everyone to see. And Paes now leading by over 3 minutes, which is a huge margin. Don't forget, that is more than the winning margin that Brandau had over Zojkowska at the line. That was 2 minutes and 58. And he's absolutely determined. There is no danger of him easing up at the moment. You've got live pictures from the Hero on the Sellaronda, and right now you're looking to a man who, to many mountain bikers, is the biggest of them all. He's taken this title, the Sellaronda Hero, on 2 occasions, in 2012 and 2013, and it looks like it's going to be a hat-trick for him. One man who's got a great deal of interest here is Stefan Thum. Now, Thum has to finish in first, within the top 5 if he is going to be certain of the UCI World Standings. And right now, he's down in 21st place. Not good enough as far as wrapping the title up today is concerned. And second in the World Series, Urs Huber looks like he might well be making the steal right here. Looking at the flowers presentation for the ladies. And there is Elizabeth Brandau. She's our champion. She stands atop the podium. Zojkowska made the best effort of getting close to her. And in fact, the only rider to finish within the 3-minute mark. 2 minutes and 58 was the gap. And Borghild Lovsed, who was setting out for victory here for Norway. But it seems that in this company, she's happy to accept that place. So EBE Racing Team get their victory. And their heroine is Elizabeth Brandau. She'll be back for the World Championships, you can be sure of that. Meanwhile, we hook back to the men as they just drive into this section. As you can see, we're still over 2,200 meters above sea level at this point, but it's slowly but surely edging down right now. Still quite some way to go, and as you can see, we've crested our peaks. 4 hours and 25. I'm just wondering what the margin's going to be, and I'm just wondering what poor old Stefan Tum is going to be thinking at the end of today, leading the World Series by nearly only 20 points, which fifth place would have brought him. Clearly had his issues today. That's going to be one of the big talking points at the end. The De Arlen team will be licking their wounds, especially if Urs Huber, who is second in the World Series, comes home for a very good placing. And right now, that's exactly what he's doing. In second place behind this man. There's a gap at the moment of 3 minutes and 11 seconds, but Urs Huber knows that he has to put as much space between himself and Stefan Tum as far as the World Series is concerned if he's going to have a chance of the title. But right now, it's all about one man, and you're looking at him. Well, what an event this Sellaronda has been. The local participants, incidentally, and the local committees have done an amazing job. The communities here have just not only clearing the paths and making sure that they are clear and well worthy of the UCI Mountain Bike World Series, the Marathon Series, to be dealt with. But I think as well they have kept the passages which have been dogged by snow, of which there have been plenty here today, I've got to tell you, on some of the higher ground. They've kept them clear, and in fact they've built some new routes through the woodland area which have been elevated. And look at that, elevating himself to the leader of the World Series is Urs Huber. And this has been a disastrous day, I think you might say, for Stefan Tum. So Urs Huber of Switzerland, in second place at the moment, 3 minutes 11 down, is going to be in an extraordinarily happy place by the time he reaches the end of today's run. Just approaching the 4.5 hour mark, as you can see, and it is Leonardo Paes. Now he knows this course, and I guess familiarity breeds confidence, I think you might say. 2012 and 2013, he managed to secure victory on this long, lazy run, as you can see right now, which, believe me, he has earned today. We've had so many crests, only 84 kilometers, don't forget. And considering that some of the downhill sections are quite pacey, you'll understand just what a test it is as you go around this Gröden di Sella, the Sella group of mountains. It is, of course, the Sellaronda, so racing around them as we come back into Selva, Val Gardena, the highest of the three villages that make up Val Gardena. Well, that's where the finish line waits, and, well, he'll take the glory. I think he might be thinking what might have been if he had only engaged with the World Series. Right now, though, he's just thinking about the hat-trick and indeed becoming a hero for the third time. What we saw at this point, it was where we picked up with our ladies winner, Elizabeth Brandau. And right now, Paes is also in that happy zone. Let's just dwell for a moment on Urs Huber. He has had an amazing run, taking the Grand Raid, winning in Ornon as well, and runner-up in the Marathon Series in Singen, but keeping it sensible as well. He's going to be runner-up here today, but it is part of the series, don't forget. The UCI Mountain Bike Series as well then went to Obwalden, runner-up again on that particular day. That was way back in September, don't forget. So we're coming to the end of this series. That was last year indeed. But he is, as far as this year's series is concerned, up there at the top of the rankings. And indeed, when we went to the Sabi Classic, that really belonged to him. Malanga, his title, taking that, and in fact beating Carl Platt on the day, and indeed a whole raft of South Africans. So Urs has been busy. He's been around the world, the 29-year-old, and in fact he's going to take a great deal of credit out of this day today. Take nothing away from the man who's going to head for victory, though. 3 in a row on an event such as this is a mighty achievement, and if anyone deserves the title of hero, then I think you're possibly looking at him right now. Well, some of the road sections that have been cut into the mountains look quite benign, but believe me, they've had so many testing peaks to deal with. The Sorsas was the high point today, coming at 2,351 meters above sea level, and there wasn't really much respite, to be honest. They would drop down to even as low in Campitello, as low as 1,414 meters. Now, it was this area that Leonardo Pace declared as the part where you win it or you lose it. It was the big climb up to the Passo Duran, and that's exactly what he engaged with. He came off the Pardoi, down into the Canazei, and then he went up to the Passo Duran. He's crested that in the lead, and now he's heading home. He, in fact, peaked out at 4 hours and 4 minutes, so he's been on the descent, albeit with some intermittent climbs along the way ever since then, but very much he is heading for home after 4.5 hours in the saddle, and it's going to be an extraordinarily joyful Italian that we greet at the end of today's run. He's wearing what appears to be the colours of Colombia, as you can see. But Urs Huber of Switzerland, what a race he has had, and poor old Stefan Thum, the German leader of the series, has had an absolute nightmare, I'm afraid, and is well adrift. In fact, he is 22 minutes down, or was 22 minutes down at that last checkpoint, so he's giving away 17 minutes, and indeed around 20 places to Urs Huber. Needed 5th place, did Stefan Thum. Didn't happen for him, I'm afraid. It's very much going to happen for Urs Huber, however, who is 2nd in that World Series. 5th in the series, incidentally, Remy Lafont. And so Remy down in 20th place and riding with Stefan Thum, so maybe just nursing each other home, I think you might say. Well, there we are, leader of the class, wearing number 1. As we said, given the honour of wearing that number, the men defined as starting from the 110 mark, but well, twice a winner. How could he wear anything else other than that? Well, if you're only just joining us, where have you been? You've missed an amazing women's race. Elizabeth Brandau taking the title, winning the hero race here, ahead of Poland's Zodkowska and Birgit Lovset of Norway finishing in 3rd place. Just looking at the men about to complete their run, and well, apparently just one man in it after the 2nd checkpoint, or the 3rd checkpoint, I should say. And the Indro Drain Bianchi team are going to be absolutely delighted by this performance. A 3rd win on this course. It's the sort of record that's going to stand for an awful long time. It's one of the toughest races that you're going to get in the world of mountain biking. And when the community come together for the World Championships, which are going to be held right here, don't forget, next year, then watch out, because you might well be looking at a man who's going to make it 4 in a row. There we are, some of the early favourites that didn't deliver today, I'm afraid. Elena Godoni, and in fact some tears as well for those who have reached the finish line, and just realising how much they've had to put into this. It has been a tough challenge for many of them out there, and in fact we still waiting for our 10th rider to come home. Elena Godini finishing in 4th place, saw a moment ago. Daniela Veronese, one of those who are just offering up some support out there, finishing in 5th place, top 5 for her. Katrin Schwing in 6th place, one of the veterans, and Kreslena as well, finishing 19 minutes and 30 down, but good enough for 7th place. Michel Wittlin of Switzerland already finished 20 minutes and 38 down, and Sofia Pezzatti is who we are waiting for. And in fact, as they rejoin the course, of course, the women's course and the men's course together at the finish line, it will be perhaps we might see a few finishes actually intermingled, but there's no doubt the man who's heading for victory here is the man you're looking at on your screen right now, Leonardo Paes. Well, he and Ragnoli were duking it out there. Ragnoli has faded as Urs Huber has come through to take not only second place but the lead in the World Marathon Series. And as you can see, the quad bike still engaged in security measures here, just making sure that the course remains clear, clear of wildlife apart from anything else in this part of the world. Well, we had snow on part of the course today, would you believe, on some of the very high sections that we're dealing with as part of this Sellaronda. Winter seems an awful long way away, though, in town at the moment. This man looks fresh as a daisy. It'll be fascinating to see what the time gaps are at the end. Reaching the finish. Haddati is home, 22 minutes and 35 down for the ladies. And Martina Giovanello in 10th place. She's still not within the final kilometre. I think that this man might well be hooking up with her in a few moments' time. They need to start just appreciating what they've done out here. This is Verena Frenslena. And I think she's finally realised that actually, you know what, you need to just give yourself a pat on the back occasionally. Emotions running high amongst the ladies. Going to be the same with the men by the end of this. Well, the sirens are ringing out. That's the midday call. Telling those who are attending the vineyards, presumably further down the order, that maybe it's time to take a break. No rest for this man. The quad bike. Quite sure what's engaged with at the moment. Camera down there on that bike. Brief transition, as you can see, well marked, and it's been phenomenally well organised, this event. Sellaronda HERO. It takes a great deal of setting up, especially when you have over 4,000 competitors. It's going to be a long time before they wend their way through. In fact, some still going through the Pardoi, which is only 49 kilometres into the run, and getting time checks on some of those who are featuring down in the 3,000s. One man wears number one, and he wears it by rights, and you're looking at him right now. Well, we'll have the ladies holding the banner to welcome him in when he finally arrives. Little rooster tail, the dust being kicked up. Just checking his speed as he comes in. Well, the margin right now is well over 3 minutes, and I think he may well have extended it, but don't count on a charge from Urs Huber. He is out there. Quad bike just riding shotgun at the moment as he heads for one of these last intermediate climbs as they head around Monte Pana. When he reaches the 80k to go marker, that's when the two courses rejoin. And there it is, the men's 84 kilometre category elite leader, and indeed he's going to be our king again today. Let's give you some more time checks, shall we? We've had a few more. Still waiting for the finish, incidentally, of Martina Giovanello. It's an amazingly inclusive event, this. The children that were running at the beginning of the day, over 100 of them, in fact, having their own little races. Saw a few tumbles today. There were some tears. I imagine there's going to be some tales to be told about, or from those further down the order. Just checking on the men as well. Only the top 22 have been through the Duron final time check, incidentally. And that coming, the Duron, at the 68 kilometre mark. So the rest of the field, except for those top 20, are essentially 15 kilometres or more behind this man, which tells you everything you need to know by the amount of work that he's had to put into this effort. Quite outstanding. Still just 9 ladies through at the finish line. Simona Bonomi still out on course, the lady from Bergamo. Already have our winner, Elizabeth Brandau. And in fact, it looks like the closure of the course now, or the closing kilometres for this man. Underneath the cable car, it's a question of margin. I guess head and shoulders above the rest of the field when it comes to his abilities on this particular course. And local knowledge pays great dividends. And Leonardo Paes, he may well not ride here as far as his training runs are concerned, but he has been out here and just doing a few recce's as the pro that he is. And right now, he's heading for a hat-trick of victories. It's not been done before on the Sellaronda. Only the 5th edition of the great race, don't forget. After the World Championships next year, it's going to be badged up as a go-to venue, I think, and maybe draw in even more international riders, of which we've had many. They've come from Mexico, Canada, Russia, South Africa. It's a magnet, if you like, for the best of the mountain biking community, and the best of all of them here. Well, you're looking at him right now, Leonardo Paes. Well, they're waiting at the finish line. The last few curves are going to be testy ones for him, and this crowd will finally have their hero to join the ladies who've already finished. They don't put the banner out because he has, I think, some female competitors ahead of him. This is that wide little entree. He's got to climb yet again, but Paes is heading for the hat-trick. Well, he looked kind of relaxed about the whole affair when it was the press conference yesterday. Didn't really want to talk his chances up too much, but clearly said he was going to pace himself and just do it at his own pace, and that was, well, a rhythm that had the beating of just about everybody. And here we are, he's on the barriered section, protecting skiers and walkers from taking a tumble where they shouldn't, and indeed mountain bikers as well. And if mountain biking is your thing, you'll appreciate just what this man has done. When you realise that so many of the field, in fact outside the top 25, are still, what, 12 kilometres away from him after this 84-kilometre run, you'll understand it wasn't so much an escape as just a performance of sheer determination and indeed skill. It's about descending as well as climbing, don't forget. As you already heard, Elizabeth Brandau talking about how she needed to make the break when she could on the descent. And this man, likewise, very strong climber, but just paced himself particularly early on. And then when it came to the downhill, well, just made the difference. He's got some pace about him even now, and he's still putting power into the pedals. He knows he's got the victory wrapped up. And so does everybody else. Make a little transition as he comes through this part of town. There it is, back up on the path, and he's heading for the finish line. The last few hundred meters then for Leonardo Paes. He is heading for a hat-trick of victories on this Sellaronda hero. And what a hero he is. The last little grind, almost a cruel one. He's got a couple of hairpins to take right at the very last before he turns underneath the winner's banner. And he's kind of made this his own, this event. Who on earth is going to have the beating of this man in the future? It's a massive question. He has been so dominant today, and, well, 3 years in a row, you cannot take anything away from this man. The cheers, the applause, they're all his, and something else even bigger than that. He is our Sellaronda hero, and he appreciates what he's done, and so do we. What an amazing performance that was. 4 hours, 45 minutes in the saddle. And he looks absolutely delighted. Not a hint of fatigue. Well, the sound system booms out and the air fetty goes off. And he raises his machine. and we salute him. The Gröden Bianchi team have got their winner, and we've got our superhero, I think. A hat-trick of wins. Absolutely outstanding. Well, Barbara's just going to catch a brief word with our winner.
E quindi siamo pronti con Leonardo Paes. So we are ready with Leonardo Paes. Third time for you on the highest step of the podium. Terza volta per te sul gradino più alto del podio. Before the start you told us, well, there are a lot of important names, but I will try to win once again because I really feel this race. Prima di partire ci hai detto un parterre molto importante, ma io sento molto questa gara, la voglio portare ancora a casa una vittoria, quindi cosa ci puoi raccontare? What can you tell us?
Ciao a tutti, sono molto felice.
Hello everybody, thanks for the
Questa gara
welcome,
mi piace, è molto bella, anche tanto dura, adatta alle mie caratteristiche. E ho fatto fatica la prima discesa perché sono caduto e mi sono fatto male, ma poi piano piano mi sono ripreso, dai.
So I really love this race. It has been a really tough day. I've had a problem in the first part because I fell down. I have had a crash in the first downhill. What about the other riders? We know that you were with Yuri in a short part of the race, quindi sappiamo che eri anche con Yuri in una parte della corsa, in una parte del tracciato.
Sì, lui si è avvantaggiato un po' sulla salita perché era tanto scivoloso, io non sono riuscito ad andare, ho fatto a piede, ma poi lo sono ripreso in discesa, lui ha avuto un problema, io sono andato con il mio ritmo e sono riuscito a vincere. E dai, sono contento e speriamo continuare così. Ringrazio la mia squadra, i Gröden Bianchi, che sempre mi hanno sostenuto, hanno creduto in me. Questa vittoria va per tutti loro, anche per Lorano e Emiliano che sono vicini sempre a casa mia. Grazie.
So I have had a crash, and after that I was with Yuri Ragnoli, but then I went back on the saddle and I won. I'm really happy for me and for all my team and teammates. Thank you so much, Leonardo Paes.
Grazie a tutti.
Thanks to him and indeed to Barbara. And you just saw as well, we have our winner, Paes, but we also have a dominant performance by Urs Huber as far as the marathon series is concerned. And this is Paul Eisen as well, coming home right now, just in his, so that is our podium. And a terrific performance by him. Again, somebody else who has just measured himself throughout the run and done a terrific job. In fact, has made a real leap up the standings in the very last part of the course. Well, it's about how you ride your luck as well, I guess. Well, Tony Eisen, the veteran, coming to the line. Well, it's about how you ride it and indeed how you pace yourself. I'm looking forward to Urs Huber. Hopefully we're going to have an interview with him in a few moments' time. But doing an amazing job as far as the World Series is concerned. And we wait to see where Stefan Tum comes home, because I have to tell you that Paul Eisen was quite far down the rankings. He'd done a good job on the first split. He was about in 8th or 9th position at that point. The second he was up into the top 5, but they really had to roll with the punches from that moment on. And I guess it's how you recover from your ill fortune, which you're bound to suffer on a day such as this. Paes had a fall, remounted and used the adrenaline to his benefit. Well, we have 3 finishes so far, but Yuri Ragnoli, who at one point was riding alongside Paes when Paes fell. I don't know whether Ragnoli's had his own issues out there, but he's off the podium and he will be finishing in 4th place. But there, right now, just waiting to have a word with him, is Urs Huber. And I'm hoping that we manage to get an interview in a few moments' time, because Urs has done the job as far as the UCI Mountain Bike World Series is concerned, right here at the Sellaronda HERO. Well, Yuri Ragnoli coming in. Tony Longo as well, not that far behind, and we'll have a number of lady finishers as well coming across the line. That is Simona Bonomi. More than respectable performance by her, and we'll wait as well for Yuri Ragnoli and Tony Longo. They are in the final kilometre of this run. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. The Sellaronda HERO has been a spectacular event, beautifully organised, some glorious scenery around this part of the world, and what a tough exhibition we've had. A great display of power and indeed heroics. Elisabeth Brandau is the winner for the ladies. And indeed, Yuri Ragnoli just coming across the line. Tony Longo as well, just about to head to the finish line. Let's remind ourselves, Elisabeth Brandau has taken the title on behalf of Germany, beating Zokowska on this 62-kilometre women's course today. Borghild Lovset in third place for Norway. As far as the men are concerned, well, there's a confirmation of the top 10. Giovanella Martina finishing, Martina Giovanello, I beg your pardon, finishing in 10th place, wrapping out the top 10. That's how they finished. Brandau, our champion. As far as the men are concerned, well, we have our top 5, or we will have when Tony Longo comes across the line. Paez has done it. He's made it a hat-trick. 3 in a row for him. Champion in 2012, 2013, and now the 5th running of the HERO. He's delivered. Urs Huber, runner-up on the day, but taking a massive leap to the top of the marathon standings in the men's mountain bike championship. Tony Polaisen finishing on the podium today, making it Italy 1 and 3. Yuri Ragnoli in 4th place ahead of Tony Longo, who's just finished. The top 5 are complete as far as the men are concerned. It's going to be a long, long time before all 4,014 riders make it home. Well, over 5 hours of racing, as you can see, and we have competitors strewn all over the mountain here. But one man, head and shoulders above everybody, it seems, and on a regular basis too. 3 in a row, he got the hat-trick. What an amazing performance by an amazing rider. Well, the smiles say it all. The Sellaronda HERO, for the 5th time of asking, has been completed. Don't forget, this is the venue for the World Championships next year, and so a great preview, I think, for those who wish to be part of that. Leonardo Paez will surely be amongst the main challengers along the way. Our congratulations to everybody out there. Indeed, I'm wondering if we're going to have a brief chat downstairs. No, we don't want to interrupt the finish line, of which it's extremely busy, as you can see. Well, our thanks to everybody here who has helped within the Val Gardena region. It's been an absolute joy to have your company along the way as well. Don't forget to join us next year, when it will be, the HERO will become, of course, the World Championship. And if you can make the trip, then please do so. Reasonable amount of hotel space in this part of the world, as it's so dedicated to the world of skiing during the winter. So a lot of that freed up accommodation-wise this time of year. So it's well worth taking the trip if you can. Well, still waiting for Stefan Tum to come across the line, and what a tale he's going to have to tell today. Over half an hour down, I'm afraid, at the final checkpoint, and it looks like it's going to be well beyond the top 10 for him unless he can make amazing strides towards the end. Still a 15-minute gap or so, maybe another 10 to go before Giacomo Antonello comes across the line. But as you can see from our pictures live at the finish line of the Hero today, it's almost a party atmosphere at the line. Well-deserved refreshment of various kinds, as you can see. And why not allow yourself a beer after a job well done out on the mountains. Don't forget, you'll be able to keep in touch with all that perhaps you've missed today if you've joined us late at this 5th running of the Hero. Check your local listings. I think you'll be finding that there are highlights programs to be had. At the moment that Elizabeth Brandau came home for victory. The women first home today. 4 hours, 23 minutes she was in the saddle. And as far as the men are concerned, we're having our podium right now. That's Tony Paul-Eisen, the veteran. Great result by him to finish in this elevated company. Urs Huber takes the lead in the Marathon World Series with an amazing performance today, finishing second place, but still 2.5 minutes down on our winner. Third time of asking, third time he has delivered. He's our hero. Leonardo Paes taking the Sellaronda Hero for the third time. Well, our thanks to you at home for joining us. Our thanks to the organisers and indeed to the communities that have made this event happen. The Sellaronda Hero is a fabulous spectacle of mountain biking. Over 4,000 competitors. There can only be 1 woman in each of the classes. And so we salute Elizabeth Brandau and, of course, Leonardo Paes, our winners. From me, Carlton Kirby, thank you so much for your company. It's been a joy. If you can make it along to the Sellaronda Hero for the World Championships next year, I suggest you make the effort. It is going to be spectacular, as it has been today. This event was designed to be about heroes, and we have two. Elizabeth Brandau and Leonardo Paes. They're our victors. We'll see you in 2015.